Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our WordCamp Speaker Finder app. The first thing we're going to do is just jump over and look at the HTML. As you might guess from looking at the page, it's pretty basic HTML. We just have a title, we've got a style sheet, which has really just a few simple styles in it. We have a header, got a H1, and we're loading jQuery here. The main reason I wanted to use jQuery for this is to use its AJAX function. And since we have jQuery loaded already, we're going to be leveraging it in other parts of the app as well. Next thing I want to do is add my own JavaScript file down here. So we're going to need to create this file in a second, and we will call it findspeakers.js. And inside this file, I'm now going to do what's called an immediately invoked function expression, which is a fancy term for taking a function and wrapping it in parentheses, and then immediately invoking that function by adding another pair of parentheses. And my function is going to receive the global jQuery variable, and that will get passed here. And what that means is that inside my function, I can use the $, and that will refer to jQuery. So I'm going to add a variable called speakers data URL. And if you watched the intro video, we were making requests to URLs that looked something like this. So we have year.location.wordcamp.org, and we're going into WP JSON and hitting the posts endpoint and asking for a post type of WCB speaker. You might notice that this does not have the WP/v2 that you might expect. And that's because this is not using the WordPress REST API that comes with core. This is a custom API specific to WordCamp.org. Next, we're going to go ahead and get our speaker data based on the URL. And for that, we're going to go ahead and just use the jQuery AJAX function. So that accepts an object. And in that object, we're going to have the method, which will be get. We are going to specify the URL to be our speakers data URL. And we're going to define a property called success, and that will tell jQuery, hey, when the request is successful, I need you to run this callback function. And our callback function will receive some data. And for now, all we're going to do is console.log that data that we get back. Okay, so that should be enough to test in the browser here. We'll see how that goes. So here is my response, and if I click on that, I can see I have 10 speakers that were returned. If I open one of these up, I'll see that I have an ID, an avatar, I have a description, and down here I'll have the title, which is the speaker name. And those are about all the properties we're going to use to start with. But I do want to make sure that we are getting all the speakers and not just the first 10. And the reason I'm only getting 10 is because I didn't specify otherwise. And that's what WordPress will do by default, is just give 10. So I can come in here and define a parameter. And there's one available called post per page. And if we set that to -1, then that will make sure that we get all the speakers. So here's my array, and I can see I have 80, which is proof enough for me that that's all of them. And I'll just make sure there's some data in here. And sure enough, there is a speaker. So there are multiple ways to look at this data. This is just one of many. Using whatever browser you choose to use, there's probably similar tools. But that's the point for this video, is just to get the data that we're going to be working with. This URL is not going to be hard-coded the whole time. Of course, we'll want to put some controls to adjust that on the page. And if you want to join us next time, we'll be working on our speaker template and actually using this data we're getting to insert something into the document.